My name is Yoli Salofa. I am the Community Learning and Development Specialist at Pacific Business Trust. And I'm joined today with my colleague Eleni to bring you today's session. So just a bit, I see a lot of, I see some familiar faces, but I also see some new faces. Just a bit about us. So we are part of the team at Pacific Business Trust. So Pacific Business Trust, we are an economic development agency funded by the government to provide support for our Pacifica community, specifically our Pacifica business community. And this support comes in various forms. So it can either be grants for services that will help you with capability building, or it can be like a mentorship with our business advisors. And also it can be in the form of these workshops and drop-in clinics like we have today. So this is more for our this is our one-to-many offerings for our business community, Pacifica business community. And yeah, so we at the moment we have like our workshops and our general business workshops that can help with either accounting and tax, finance, your storytelling and pitching, and it can also be help with social enterprise. And as well as we have currently on our procurement support service, which is catered specifically to construction businesses. And yeah, as well as these drop-in clinics. So we've had a few drop-in clinics for the resurgence support payment, the wage subsidy, and the one today we have for the food safety. And so without further ado, I'll pass it on to my colleague Eleni. He'll kick us off with our concept because we only have 1 hour to get through all we have on the agenda for today. And yes, and before we do, please, if you have any questions, feel free to pop it through the chat. We will address all questions at the end of the session. Or if you have like a really urgent question, please feel free to, unmute and fire away. Further, I'll pass it on to Eleni.
Thank you, Yoli. Just if we can go into the next slide, please.
Yeah.
Awesome. Malolele, everyone. Malo malolabo mai. Again, welcome to our food safety drop-in clinic. Sorry, sorry if we.
I just put on unmute.
Thank you. Where was I? Yes, again, welcome to our food safety drop-in clinic. I am PBT's programs and event support and will be the facilitator for today's hour session. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to also invite our special guests or our experts in this field to quickly introduce themselves. If I could pass this on to Shrishta, please.
Thanks, Eleni. Kia ora, everyone. My name is Shrishta, and as Eleni mentioned, I work a lot in food safety. So I run a program called the Kitchen Project. And what we do is we support food entrepreneurs to develop their businesses. So businesses come to us with a food concept and we help them get that off the ground so that they're legally operational within Auckland, able to sell their products, Auckland and New Zealand wide. So that's me. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Jackie, if we could get an introduction, please.
It's Eleni. Hey everyone, my name is Jackie Yip and I work at Auckland Council in the Healthy Family South Auckland team. So a big part of our work is to get the South Auckland food system working for our community. So we're just here today to help, I don't know, sit in and support the Pacific Business Trust to support you guys. So, thank you.
Nice, thank you, Jackie. And if Reese's on the call, Teresa, if you could please introduce yourself too.
Sorry, was it to me?
Yes, hi, Reese.
Hi. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm pretty late to the meeting because I just finished another meeting. My name is Reese. Hi, everyone. I'm owner operator of a small business called Nesian Bites. we are based out in Pukekohe, so we provide two services, which is catering. Oh, hi Shrestha. Sorry, I just saw you. Which is a platter service and a grazing table service. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Reese.
It's okay.
Awesome. Okay, next slide, please. Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, guys. So just to help you get a fair idea around the purpose of today's drop-in clinic, it is primarily a session catered for various degrees of people, whether you're getting into the food industry or you're mom, dad, catering for events or occasions, or even nanas and papas running a side business as a stall holder. I welcome you and hope this kind of information afternoon gives you answers to some questions you might have, or you find out something new to think about. So we hope to run this session within 40 to 50 minutes, give or take, with the last 10-20 minutes for questions. However, again, if you have questions throughout the session, please put them through chat and my co-host will compile those and bring it up at the end for our experts to answer or guide you, just so that we keep with the timing of the drop-in. So today is basically helping you understand your responsibilities as you make food and then sell food. So it's not new information, just information you may not have known about or may know about and just need a quick refreshment. We'll also be going through the process of making sure you are within the legal and required standards of making and selling foods, as well as touching base around your obligations as a caterer or a stall holder. Next slide, please. Great. So as a food provider or manufacturer who attains some sort of income from selling and providing specific foods, you have a responsibility to consumers to abide by certain rules and regulations outlined by the Food Act 2014, which has been provided by Ministry of Primary Industries and even your local council, I believe. It is a very wordy document, like most terms and conditions. In summary, you can use two plans to make sure you are within the bounds of making and selling food, which is what the Food Control Plan and the national program stated here were made for. Next slide, please. So the Food Act basically highlights that your obligations when making and selling food is that it's safe and suitable, which sounds pretty much straightforward, which it is. There are just some precedents you need in order to be recognized as a food business that legitimately abides by that food safe and suitable concept. Also, just to take note of that this act covers the process in which you produce and sell food and not necessarily where the food is made. For example, someone who makes and sells food in a truck will register just like someone who makes and sells food in a restaurant. The Act provides two foundations to being valid, a valid food provider or producer or distributor. These measures are the Food Control Plan and the national program. There are costs associated with these, and they differ for two stages. So there's the newly registered and those already registered. So for those already registered, this clinic might be a bit repetitive, but I hope it serves as a refresher. So the cost associated as a newly registered person is the registration fee, verification fee, and evaluation fee. Evaluation fee is used by those using Food Control Plan, which I'll go more into later on in the clinic. And then the cost associated with those who've already registered is if you are renewing your registration or making changes to your details. Next slide, please. So safe and suitable foods. So as mentioned before, the main article for abiding to the Food Act is that the food you make and sell is both safe and suitable, which the national program and food control plans are all about. So safe food made and sold means food that won't make consumers sick and or unwell. Suitably made and sold food means what you advertise is what you are selling. So, you know, lusipi is actually lusipi and not lumoa. So, especially if you're claiming the food is vegan, gluten-free, nut-free, milk, lactose-free, healthy. Suitable food is about ensuring that transparent information regarding ingredients is there for consumers to view. Next slide, please. So now that we've touched on the basics, which we'll come back to again, we'll first look at guidelines that Auckland Council and MPI has for caterers or stallholders under the fundraising and promotion section. There are two groups highlighted here, with one being that you have to register your business and the other being you may not need to register your business. However, even if you don't need to register or verify your business, you still have the responsibility of providing a safe and suitable service. So if you're selling food to fundraise for youth, church, sports, more than 20 times a year, you are then supposed to register. If you are a catering service that caters for clubs or events, again, you must register. And if you are selling food at marketes, like such as night markets or polyex markets, or even, you have an obligation to register your business. On the other hand, if you are selling fundraising and selling food less than 20 times a year for your church or youth, whatever, you don't need to register. Same goes if you are only selling once in a calendar year to a markete, or if you are if you're selling food that are provided by others, you don't need to register. But again, just want to reiterate that even though you don't need to register, you still have a responsibility to make sure food is safe to consume. And I just wanted to note on the third point for the non-registering is that where food is not the purpose of the event, it's not necessary to register. So for example, a rugby game sausage sizzle or a social club bake sale. Next slide, please. Yeah. And just to take into consideration, if you are fundraising, selling food in a public space, it's very important that you check with the local authority there, whether you can sell food there and what types of food is allowed to be sold at certain areas, and also ensuring that the foods you're selling are safe to consume. And when you do get into contact and apply for certain venues to sell food, the council staff will let you know what you need to do there and what types of permissions or consent has been granted. Awesome. Next slide, please. Awesome. Okay. With majority caterers and stallholders using their personal kitchen to make and sell food, this leads us to another area of consideration, which is the home-based food businesses and what you might, need to know if you are making and selling food from home. So here I have site. And our first point for home rentals, it is always good to communicate with your rental property owner or landlord anything that you are thinking to do and from the rental property. because the sole purpose of you renting a house with that party is laid out as you're using it as a home. Sometimes there are those who are lucky and have landlords who are very lenient and don't really mind. But to save you the hassle of uncertainty, having a written agreement with clauses that inform, you have permission and it's been granted. But there are instances where you might get unlucky and get landlords who are really uptight and might end up fining you or charging you, or even evicting you from the property because you operated without permission. But that's only given if the landlords follow the correct processes to set the charges. So I do advise that you contact your local authority for more information regarding your rights as a rental property, renting out a property. For the second point is for home property owners. Although you may not need to worry about the previous notions, there are other obligations to take into consideration if you are making home improvements, especially if you're making drastic renovations for the purpose of making and selling food from home. So if you are unsure if you need consent, other types of permission for certain renovations, I advise that you contact or seek more info through your local council. I've got here my local council, Auckland Council. I don't know about other, where everyone else is in the region, but yeah. A quick Google search who your local council is, and they should have information around this. Next, and the last point is, I believe every household in New Zealand is connected to a legal water source. But if not, and you're using a different type of water source, there is a whole different process of making sure that that water source is validated by the by MPI or the council. Next slide, please. So again, guys, just want to remind, if you do have questions, just put them through chat and yeah, we'll bring it up. With majority caterers and stallholders using their personal kitchen to make and sell food, this leads us into another area of consideration, the equipment and storage. So when you're using your home as the place to make the food, you are more likely to use your own equipment or your own storage. And in some cases, the reason in doing so is because it's just a starting point. It's more convenient, if it's just a side business, less costly in terms of having to rent out a full commercial kitchen or a shared kitchen. So in order to ensure you're keeping to the safe, suitable guidelines, you need to consider the pros and cons if you are operating a home-based business, especially if it's for the long term. So looking at kitchen equipment suitability, good quality equipment means you are less likely to injure yourself in comparison to poor quality equipment, which break or wear out easily, as well as the dishware and utensils. Do you have certain measures to ensure that it will be hygienically clean for multiple customers using the same dishware or utensils? And the second point is the storage of facilities and they're appropriate. So when appropriate storage is used, you limit chances of contamination, cross-contamination, and it helps you keep track of the shelf life of food products and ingredients so that you don't accidentally use expired or rotten foods. So just a rhetorical question, kind of just for you to answer for yourselves, I guess. Will you separate what you use for home from what will be used commercially? Yeah. So, next slide, please. So I've included here more things just to take note of when operating a home-based food business. Will you be able to juggle home life with commercial life? Which I believe as Pacifica people, you know, it might be an assumption for others, but we know very well how to, given the number of events and like birthdays, weddings that we've gathered to cook for. But it is still important to look at potential risks to cooking at home, such as managing your family. How will you be able to prevent kids from becoming a hazard, house pets from contaminating foods, or, you know, instances where you might end up mixing your commercial ingredients with home foods, and then which leads to, you know, allergen foods and non-allergen foods mixing up. And also something else would be the wear and tear that increases on your ovens, stoves, and even your vehicles if you deliver food also, and so forth. Next slide, please. Awesome. So now that we've kind of gone through things to know as a stallholder or caterer, even established food businesses or startup food businesses, we want to find out what plan or program is appropriate for your food business. So the Ministry of Primary Industries has set up this 15-minute quiz to give you an idea of what kind of plan or program your food business will most likely need to use or requires. But I just want to highlight also that this quiz, like most quizzes that try to cover a broad spectrum, can show some inaccuracies. But lucky for you, we have the team from the Kitchen Project who are able to point you in the right direction. So if you know and can share what types of food your business is planning to make and sell, as well as what level you are operating at, and you want to know what specifically applies to you, yeah, please put that through chat, and yeah, help us help you. So if I could ask my co-host to quickly bring up the quiz. So the third tab. The third tab. Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, Yanni. So all this information, templates, website links, we will also send it out after this drop-in clinic. But this is just the landing page of the food safety quiz. Yeah, we'll just start and kind of just show you what the first question looks like. It's pretty easy. So yeah, what will you do? So you'll look, they have pictures and like very small explanations of what each option entails. So if you read through those, select the one or two, press next. It will take 15 or even less sometimes to go through the whole thing. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Yoli. Back to the slides, please. Next slide. So at the end of that quiz, your result may show that your food business needs to use a national program or a food control plan. So what are these plans and programs that I keep bringing up? Thank you for asking. So the national program, sorry, Yoli, next slide. The national program is essentially a standard already set by MPI in terms of rules for a food business. With the national program, Registering under this program with MPI is standard practice as well, especially if you are operating in more than one local area. For example, if you have a bake shop in Otara and a bake shop in North Shore, using MPI to register is recommended. With the national program, verification, the verification process can be a constant thing depending on the size and complexity of the food business. For those food businesses processing foods, you must meet national program processing requirements. So in summary, I've added here, in the next slide, please, Yoli. I've added here a list of examples that may relate to your product or service. That would mean you will have to operate under one of these three national programs. So for the national program one, if you are transporting, distributing food, you're in the packing in the food business, or if you are also retailing ice cream and confectionery. For the medium risks, you'll be using National Program 2. If you are in the bread kind of bakery sector, or the if you're manufacturing confectionery, jams and other spreads. For National Program 3, for higher risks, if you're brewing or distilling alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages, as well as selling or catering for, like, I think daycares, I believe. Next slide, please, Yoli. So the food control plan, on the other hand, is more fluid compared to the standard national program. Just to parallel your food business, given that there are less complexities compared to food business as mentioned in the slide before. The kitchen project team also noted that the template food control plan does actually cover most of what's in the national program, which is why I thought to use the template to explain both national program and the food control plan. So two birds with one stone kind of thing. So if we can go to the template food control plan, Yoli. Awesome. So it would be worth skimming and scanning through this. It would help to know what you need to implement into your business, especially what kinds of records you are expected to keep in order to show you're working within the safe and suitable guidelines. So if we can just start from page 1, please, Yoli. So the landing page and contents page, you can clearly see in the contents what this 122-page plan entails. Some cards you may not need to include or register with in order to use, such as the teal colored cards, which are all the way at the end of the template food control plan. But throughout this plan, this template, you will see 3 prompts, the know, do, and show. Each prompt explains what you need to know regarding this piece of detail, what you need to do with the detail in order to satisfy the requirements, and what you need to show, which is mostly dedicated to what you need to bring up with a verifier in the verification process. Page 5, please, Yali. So the setup deck consists of your business and operation details. So if you know what you do, how you operate, what your space looks like, then adding that in this portion will set you up for the rest. Page 95, please. So the starting is this kind of the safety portion, I believe, where you need to establish some sort of risk management procedures with people, perishables, and pests. Page 37, please. Thank you. And preparing, so this section continues around safety, but focuses more on food. So looking at how you will prepare, source, receive, and store the different types of foods. 47, please, Yali. In the making and cooking section here, this is where you will have to assess the process you make or take relating to the foods your business sells. It looks at the cooking, reheating, chilling, defrosting, and handling of fresh foods and products, as well as certain techniques to ensure that perishables are handled accordingly to methods that in the end would mean the food is safe to consume. Page 65, please, Yoli. And the serving and selling part of this template, it touches on the suitability of aspect as mentioned by the safe and suitable principle we're following. So this portion advises the, the transportation requirements, the labeling, packaging, and especially your responsibilities if you are a provider to another another kind of shop or source. Yeah. Page 79, please, Yali. And this is kind of the last section. So the closing section, if you see on the top left corner, this part of the plan is checked by the verifier every time. So depending on the duration of the verification process, the verifier will check this section over that period. So this is the cleaning that you action after a day's work, especially the maintenance around equipment, as well as a clear record keeping of labeling, storage, and other inventory, that helps us support and run your business. Page 87, please, Yoli. And then the troubleshooting section is included just to ensure that when you do come into certain problems, you are able to identify it and have something in place that will resolve it. So especially if your products may put consumers at risk, going through this section will detail steps or procedures you need to be able to put in place. So it's kind of like a just in case. For page 99, please, Yali. So the teal section, which I mentioned before, is specialist section, which I advise you have a thorough look through, like with everything else mentioned, and see if anything here applies to your food business. If we can go back to the slides, please, Yoli. Next slide. Awesome. So as a manufacturer of high-risk foods, you can develop your own like customized food control plan, or use a template food control plan and register that with your local authority or MPI just to meet the requirements of the Food Act. So other businesses can also choose to this type of plan to if you want to personalize the way you manage food safety. But other than that, we'll go through a step-by-step process just to have you get an idea of the whole process when finding out your what food control plan or national program applies to you, the verification process, registration process, evaluation process, and action. So here we have the first step, which is to check. Do you need a custom food control plan, a template food control plan, or the national program? So here again, MPI has provided all this information for you. They've laid out what category your food business will fit under. So if you are a cafe owner, takeaway owner, or in the catering business, or if you are preparing or manufacturing and selling foods, then they kind of put an emphasis that you use the template food control plan. But if you are more in wanting to create a unique plan, because there are just bits that aren't under the template food control plan, then you are free to use a customizable food control plan. Next slide, please, Yali. So for step 2 is to create. So show how you manage food. Noting down step by step the procedures you take when making and selling food. So what we'll do, just seeing that about time, we won't go through the quiz, but yeah, what I'll do is I'll send out that information just in case. Next slide, please, Yoli. So step 3 is to evaluate. So you've got your plan, you've noted down everything you do, everything you sell, everything you make. Now is to seek an evaluator. I've added here a link to MPI improved sources for an evaluator. So this person will check if your plan contains everything that your food business entails, as well as whether you are a business that will produce safe and suitable foods. Next slide, please, Yali. Step 4 is to contact a verifier. So I've also added here another link with MPI improved sources for a verifier. So the verifier, just want to kind of highlight this, is that you need to contact the verifier before you can apply or apply your registration. So when you've got your plan, it's been evaluated, then you are to contact and arrange a time and date for a verifier, who will then send a letter that you will include in your registration application. Next slide, please, Yoli. So step 5, register. So you've taken the steps 1 and 4 and completed those. Now you've just need to compile all the documents you need, as well as the letter that the verifier has sent through, and also pay the costs associated with that. Next step, next slide, please, Yoli. So I've added here a table which is provided by both Auckland Council and MPI, where to register, and it looks at what food control plan or national program you've applied yourself to use. So yeah, please, if you have questions around this, please put them through, and we'll contact the right sources to get the right answers. Next slide, please, Yoli. Also is the registration fees. So there is quite a cost around these, but I believe it's just to ensure, the processes and you know, you are valid and legal to operate. Next slide, please, Yoli. Step 6 is to verify. So once you've applied for registration, the verifier then will come at the arranged date and time to check. So if you're selling food, assess whether the program and plan is suitable for your food business, and they will make sure to check if you are record keeping. So what I have also is, if you can please bring up the template for the record keeping, Yoli. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So this was shared by Kitchen Project, but I believe you can find this on MPI's website as well. So this is kind of just, we won't go through the whole thing, it's 55 pages, but it's what it consists of is examples of your record keeping. So there, here they've also got some other ideas of how you can record keep as well. So if you know your food business is using a fridge or some type of warmer that you know, you track like the temperatures in a document such as this one, just to make sure that, you know, there you can show the verifier that all the information you have is actual data that you've managed to take note of. So if you can just like scroll through, Yoli. So again, I'll send out this template just in case. But yeah, if you have a record keeper in your business, training them, there's also a training record that you also need to keep if you have more than one FTE, I believe, as well as food. This information you can also use when you troubleshoot using the template food control plan. Awesome. Back to the slides, please, Yali. So the verification process the duration of it will take longer or might not take as long, depending on if you've provided the appropriate information, the right information, and whether your business is very complex or not complex at all. Next slide, please, Yoli. So I've added here another table just to see how long sometimes the verification will go for if you're a small, medium, or large business. Next slide, please, Yali. And then step 7, the final step for the process is to action the plan. So this is basically you are following what you've put down, making sure that the plan and program you've applied and registered for and has been verified is put into use, as well as making sure, you know, you keep up to date with your registrations and renewing, you know, your verifications.
That's it from us. Thank you again very much, everyone, for joining us for this Talanoa. And please do reach out to us through email or through our 0800 number if you needed any support at all, or just someone to talk to if you're uncertain about the current position of your business, or if you wanted to talk to someone about your business idea, please do reach out to PBT. But other than that, I think that's all from us. Thank you again so much to the team from the Kitchen Project, Jackie and Shrista and Reese, for joining us. And yeah, thank you, Eleni, for leading us, for facilitating us today.
That was great, Lainey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.